Welcome to the final video about my favourite Doctor. You all saw this coming. Keep in mind, my opinion is my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine, because your opinion is also correct. But let's not fight in the comments, let's spread the love. And you know who it is! My favourite Doctor is... the Ninth Doctor! I mean, where do I even begin? Do you want to know how much I love this Doctor? I did a 26-episode podcast series plus specials all about his series and why he is my favourite version of the character. 9 is 10. Look it up. It's pretty damn sweet. Also available on iTunes. Christopher Eccleston's portrayal of the Doctor is my favourite, not because he's the most doctory. It's because he has a complete story arc. Now, you don't need to have a complete story arc to be a better version of a character, but it does help that you can watch a performance run the gamut of everything it needs to, from the beginning to the middle to the end on screen, because you feel like you know them better than any other incarnation. And yet, there are still always little things, especially with this portrayal, that you'll notice on rewatches that you hadn't noticed before. Now, the Doctor, we all know what he's like, we all know... or, well, do we? We're not meant to know entirely, but we all know the basics. You know, he's an eccentric, he's a traveller, he's just and fair, but at the same time he's not afraid to get his hands dirty in fighting off the wrongs of the universe. Sometimes he's an observer, it's best to sit back, allow the universe to do what it needs to do. Sometimes things are too heinous and you've got to get stuck in. The Ninth Doctor is the survivor of an incident in which 2 species were destroyed. But he's also the survivor who pulled the trigger. Day of the Doctor didn't happen. Day of the Doctor isn't a thing. This is 2005, and that is not the story, alright? The Doctor committed a double genocide to wipe out the Time Lords and the Daleks in an effort to prevent the war spreading throughout all of time and destroying everything in existence. And then he had to carry on living. Christopher Eccleston's Doctor is a war survivor, is a man burdened with guilt who just wants to shrink into nothingness and be ignored. And yet he can't help himself be himself again. That's why Rose is such a wonderful episode, because you see him doing what he used to do. He's trying to save things, he's trying to stop nasty things from happening. But he's not quite at the level he used to be. He's not swooping in. He's not 6th Doctor brashly bursting into a room being like, what's going on here? He's not the 3rd Doctor getting stuck in physically, you know? He's doing it on the quiet. Yeah, alright, there's a bomb blowing up a Nestine signal, but no one was meant to be around. No one would have known. It's just like a freak electrical accident. He meets Rose and he starts to get back into old habits. He sees someone else who has that spirit of adventure and of discovery. He wants more from life, and it changes him. It makes him sort of trip a little in his sort of forced exile. Makes him go, oh, right, come on a trip. Come on a trip with me. Come join me and we'll go to the future. This will be great. As a thank you for helping me out. And then things start to slot back into place. The Ninth Doctor, at no point during his season, and really think about this, at no point during his series does he save anyone. Doesn't save a life. He prevents people from being killed or hurt, but he doesn't save a life. He always steps back. Someone else does it. It's Nancy who talks to her younger brother. It's Rose that steps in to deal with her dad. Like, Pete Tyler is the one who steps up to make everything go back to normal. See what I'm saying here? Charles Dickens is the one who saves the day in The Unquiet Dead. Mickey, with the bomb and everything, the missiles in World War III, like, it's never him. In fact, the one time that he nearly does make a life and death decision, it's him behind the gun when he's going to kill the Dalek in Dalek, and Rose talks him out of it, and he realises that what he's become. The reason why the Ninth Doctor never saves the day is because he's got enough blood on his hands and he does not want to be responsible for the life or death of somebody ever again after the Time War. Now, that is a subtle bit of storytelling that is never spelled out in Series 1, because he's still the hero, he's still proactive, he still gets things done, but it's only at the very end of the series does he actually sacrifice himself to save another life. He's back on track again. He's who he was before. He's not afraid to get stuck in to help people. He sacrifices his safety and knowing he might die to save Rose from being burned up by the time vortex. Then he's back to normal. So he thanks her. You were fantastic. And you know what? So was I. And yes, you were, mate. And then he changes into the space boyfriend, and off they go on magical adventures where he's more of a hero and a techno-boffin. But the arc of the Ninth Doctor is so much more appealing to me because it's heartbreaking and heartwarming in equal measure. Hearts breaking and hearts warming. His relationship with Billie Piper on screen is wonderful. There's this sort of... It's not romantic, but there is a love there. And it's not paternal, but you do feel like he's sort of teaching her. And sometimes it's flipped. She's looking after him. Especially as the series goes on and Rose grows more confident in this new life that she's got travelling around time and space with the Doctor. He's a bit of an arsehole. With Mickey specifically. He's got no time for stupid little humans, but then you start to feel that he's being an arsehole because it's favouritism. Like, he really likes spending time with Rose, and Mickey's a connection to Rose going away again. And if Rose goes away again, the Doctor's alone again, and he might not feel that joy of exploring the universe anymore. There's so much going on with the Ninth Doctor. It's beautifully told. It's a beautifully told story across 13 episodes. Like I said, he tries to prevent people from being killed, but he never, like, steps in and takes real charge. Which is why it's so wonderful that he gets that reaffirmation he needs again in The Doctor Dances. When everything works out and he figures out just before it happens with the nanogenes that if this works, everyone's going to be healed. Everybody who was injured or maimed during this event, during the story, is going to be healed and better and well again. The everybody lives moment is such a highlight of Chris Eccleston's performance in the role. There's so much, like, I'm actually feeling a bit wobbly thinking about it. There's just the joy in his voice, the realisation that life is no longer just about losing people. It's about celebrating what we have and moving on and moving forward. And after that story, which is like episode 9, he is slightly more positive for the remainder of this. Episode 9, episode 10, he is slightly positive for the remaining 3 adventures of the series. There's a bit more of a spring in his step, which is then snuffed out again when the Daleks arrive in the last story, and the weight of all of his past is coming back to haunt him, and he realises that everything he did, all the horrible stuff that he had to apparently do to get rid of the Daleks and stop the Time War, was for nothing, because part of them has survived, a branch survived, and it's becoming a whole new tree, a forest of death that is going to descend on the universe. And that's why it's so important during the "I'm coming to get you" speech to Rose, because you realise that he's back. Anybody who was a fan of the original run of the show was like, who's this Doctor? He's like plain clothes, he's just in a jacket and a jumper and he's got a short haircut. He's not bouncing around like doing weird things, he's just sort of a bit eccentric. Like, this is odd, like, it's too toned down. Anybody who was like that, that's the turnaround moment for those who were doubting this being the Doctor, the same Doctor that they grew up with, because that is when he comes back. Suddenly he's William Hartnell, he's Patrick Troughton, he's John Pertwee, he's Tom Baker, he's Peter Davison, he's Colin Baker, he's Sylvester McCoy, he's Paul McGann. In that moment, he is back. And in the last episode, he does what needs to be done and then says goodbye to us. And not only that, he regenerates smiling. It's a happy ending for this Doctor. So even when he goes, you don't feel too devastated because you've had a complete story arc with him. It's been subtle, but you've had it. It's there. So when he leaves, it's a fond farewell. It's a goodbye, thank you for taking us on these adventures, taking us on these journeys, introducing us to Rose, reintroducing us to this world. Thank you so much. And then as soon as he changes, you're hit with the excitement of, oh, who's the new guy? Which is the best way to do a regeneration. Because you shouldn't be feeling devastated your Doctor has gone. You should be upset, understandably, but excited for the future. And that's how Series 1 ends. I could go on about it for hours. I already have the 9 is 10 podcasts. I will, of course, link them down below. You can find them on my channel. I could go on about it for hours. But Chris Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, is my favourite portrayal of the Doctor. Story highlights. Rose is a really nice way to start a series. Dalek is superb. It's a real shame Rob Shearman has never written another script for the show. Empty Child Doctor Dances is a lot of fun. Unquiet Dead is... Oh, do you know what? Sod it. All of Series 1. It's 13 episodes. You can get through them, right? All of Series 1, 2005, Doctor Who. Please watch it. That is my favourite Doctor. And those 13 stories are why. Tell me down below what you think. Do you love the Ninth Doctor? Do you agree with my choice? Where would you put him on your list? What are your favourite Ninth Doctor stories? Thank you once again for taking part in this video series by voting before it began which topic you wanted me to talk about. Maybe I'll revisit the top 10 new series episodes at some point. Who knows? If there's enough interest, maybe I shall, so let me know down below. And also, if you want brand new weekly content from me every week, then check out the Big Damn channel. We do weekly videos, Big Damn Love, and our podcast, The Big Damn Cast. We occasionally talk about Doctor Who, but we also talk about other sci-fi stuff from like games and TV and comic books and everything. So do check that out. And I will see you here on this channel for a new video very soon.